Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I've always said if there's news to report, I don't have to wait for any time. I better bring you the news as hot as possible, hot off the shelf. This is what I have for you this afternoon. While I was pondering, I got a call from one of the investigators of 375. Apparently, this gentleman has been looking at the last two videos that I made relating to the fact that, if Kelly Khumalo can be secure to come before court to deny that he's a mastermind, then that will probably spell the end of docket 636. That was the theory that I advanced to you. And he told me in no uncertain terms that will not happen, advocate. I said, but look, this can be done by way of a subpoena. The defense can secure a court subpoena and get Kelly Khumalo to appear before that court, the Pretoria High Court, and she'll have no option but to appear. That was my argument. She'll be forced one or the other to obey that subpoena and appear there, just to clear her name and sort this mess out as to whether she was or not the mastermind. Because that is what Gininda says she is. And she's on record as having rubbished the whole thing about Gininda, calling her a mastermind. So my investigator friend tells me Kelly Khumalo is virtually above the law. Those are his words. The words are not his. They are not mine. They are his. Kelly Khumalo is above the law. Nobody is going to touch Kelly Khumalo in South Africa, at least in this time and age. And that was a startling statement that he made. I said, but how can you say Kelly Khumalo is above the law? I don't really understand. What do you mean by this? Nobody is above the law. If anybody contravenes the law, that person has got to face the consequences and take responsibility for any such contravention. He again said to me, advocate, don't be unrealistic. This is South Africa. It will not happen. She then took me to the time when Gininda first made the disclosure, which was last year, late last year, when Gininda first made the disclosure that in court, remember that court disclosure that I've been talking about, that Gininda was now the mastermind and that he had contracted these 5 people that we see in the Pretoria High Court, and that is why we find them there. He said immediately thereafter, Kelly Khumalo was all over social media, and perhaps in some mainstream outlets. He was not very sure, but at least he was sure that she went public on social media to say to Gininda, Gininda, you try and arrest me. You dare arrest me. I am here. Come and get me. Catch me if you can, Gininda. That is virtually what Kelly Khumalo was saying to Gininda. So my investigator friend said to me, well, where does he get all that bravery, to have her name disclosed in such a high-profile case as a mastermind behind the killing of her own boyfriend, in a case that has not only attracted local, interest, but has gained international, recognition, and it has spread all over the world. So he was saying to me, where does he get the bravery and the guts to challenge Gininda to arrest her? When that disclosure has been made under oath by Gininda in a court of law. Slowly you can see, he continued, from that advocate, I did not disclose names here. You know the main players in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. Kelly Khumalo has got connections right up to the top. Nobody's going to touch her. I then took this gentleman back to the subpoena, but I said, subpoenas are something else. If she gets subpoenaed, do you think Or don't you think that will get her into court? He said, no ways is Kelly Khumalo going to get into court. If she gets that subpoena will be successfully challenged, and a ruling somehow will be made that she should not be subpoenaed. She will challenge that subpoena, and it will be a protracted battle. But at the end of it all, my investigator friend tells me we'll be back to square one because we will not be able to get into that courtroom. So these are very startling news, you know. I've come across a lot of things in this trial like I've disclosed in the past. But this is another, you know, dimension to the whole thing. Because you have always wondered, everybody has always wondered that, you know, how does Gininda, a senior investigator in a high-profile case such as the Meyiwa, you know, case, identify a mastermind and tell the court that I have got a mastermind? The court makes no follow-up to this startling disclosure. Gininda himself simply brushes away the whole thing and says, well, it was not up to me, it was up to the prosecution. This was a prosecution-driven investigation. In other words, my investigator friend was saying, this person gets publicly identified, Kelly Khumalo gets publicly identified and implicated by no less a person than the investigator or, you know, the lead investigator in that case. And nobody says anything about it. It shocks nobody. It comes as no surprise to anybody. And not only does this thing happen in court, Kelly Khumalo then goes on other platforms to say, you do what you like, I'm here. Catch me if you can, I said. If you do arrest me, why don't you arrest me? And Gininda is mum about the whole thing. This is why he said to me in sort of conclusion, that advocate, that is where we are, you see. Some people are simply just untouchable. This is why these people span a 636 narrative that is falling apart in court, you know, but that is being pushed at all costs, in spite of its, you know, deficiencies and, you know, gaping holes. 636 is just being pushed through that court. These are some of the reasons why he says 375 was abandoned, because the people behind 636 were just too powerful. You know, remember there was, you know, the Chico has been in and around this trial, and, you know, he's another prominent figure in society and so on and so forth. So he was basically saying to me, Kelly Khumalo is untouchable. We will make noise about Kelly Khumalo, but we'll never get arrested. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Who's above the law? Is anybody above the law in this country? Here is somebody who's identified as a mastermind by the so-called lead investigator of this matter. You know, that has been in the courts for the last, I don't know, Senzo passed away in 2014, October 2014. 11 years later, we're still stuck with this. No masterminds are being arrested. I tended to agree with him, because why would Gininda not arrest Kelly Khumalo after that public disclosure? Right? Why would Gininda not get together with the prosecution and say, this is, you know, the mastermind, you have identified the mastermind, and go on to arrest her? Why say she's the mastermind? Why identify her in an act of criminality under oath and do nothing about it? If you can do something about it. So my friend told me, well, there's a lot you can do about Kelly Khumalo as a person. But Kelly Khumalo has got networks and networks around her. Before you get to her, you'll have to, you know, make your way through those networks, and it is virtually impossible to penetrate those networks that are protecting her. That is why my friend concluded we have docket 636. It was really to protect her. I really had nothing to say. After that phone call, I really had nothing to say. I just thought Let me tell my viewers and followers this, and let me see what they think in the comment sections. But that is the latest that I have for you. Think about it. Is Kelly Khumalo above the law? I don't know. But everything points in that direction. But let me get your comments in the comment section, and perhaps we can carry this further in the next edition. Thank you very much.